his girlfriend comes over while you're sitting on the couch. She's jiggling the door handle, trying to break into your apartment. Didn't call you, didn't text you, didn't tell you she was coming. She comes over, jiggling the door handle, trying to get in.
Probably a guy for it.
Kimiko, I know this is so hard. Tears are in your eyes. You were telling me about the history, the legacy.
Businessman, family man. I mean, there's you can talk to Anthony about just about anything, and he was such a jewel. So this is going to be a great loss.
He was with his son who was bedridden.
Yes, it's with his son that was bedridden, and I don't know if they were sleeping. I don't know the full detail because the family is just trying to wrap this all around their heads on what happened. But I know that they lost their home and they lost their
Huge trees on fire. Homes gone. Alternate Town and Country Club.
And I am overwhelmed by the scale of loss. And I'm not alone. I've been looking at the faces of firefighters here. They look like they're attending a wake. And there is so much destruction. Aside from the mall, which is still standing, most of the businesses here have been destroyed. The homes down in the neighborhoods here, completely gone. I spoke with one person. He estimates thousands of homes destroyed. That aligns with what we've been seeing. You can see and hear the wind here in the trees, the howling sound, easily 100 miles per hour gusts at times. That's what fueled this fire. The fire is still burning. You've got fire crews throughout the area trying to put out flames as this wind continues. Thousands of people under a mandatory evacuation.
He's been living here since 1968, and he built that pool in the back. It wasn't there, it was just all grass. And he brought me here home as a child, and I've been here my whole life. We've been in Altadena our whole life.
And he told you Tuesday night when this firestorm came through, what did he tell you?
He said everything's going to be cool. He packed up a few things and put them in his car and took his nightly meds, had something to eat. And he said, everything will be cool. I'll be here when you guys come back.
And then your boyfriend found him in bed.
In bed, in the back left corner of the house.
He'd gone to bed.
He'd gone to bed.
Your son got out.
My son got out, and he lived here with my son Chase, his grandson.
Rodney Nickerson.
Yes,
82
ma'am.
years old.
82 years old. He's been living here since 1968, and
in what is left of downtown Pacific Palisades. And I am overwhelmed by the scale of loss. And I'm not alone. I've been looking at the faces of firefighters here. They look like they're attending a wake. And there is so much destruction. Aside from the mall, which is still standing, most of the businesses here have been destroyed. The homes down in the neighborhoods here, completely gone. I spoke with one person. He estimates thousands of homes destroyed. That aligns with what we've been seeing. You can see and hear the wind here in the trees, the howling sound, easily 100 miles per hour gusts at times. That's what fueled this fire. The fire is still burning. You've got fire crews throughout the area trying to put out flames as this wind continues. Thousands of people under a mandatory evacuation.
He was such a great guy, businessman, family man. I mean, you can talk to Anthony about just about anything, and he was such a jewel. So this is going to be a great loss.
He was with his son who was bedridden.
Yes, with his son that was bedridden, and I don't know if they were sleeping. I don't know the full detail because the family's just trying to wrap this all around their heads on what happened. But I know that they lost their home and they lost their loved one in the fire.
A family member called him a hero for staying to protect his son.
Oh, yes, because he's a family man. He believed in that, and the family looks up to Anthony. Anthony was such a great guy, businessman.
Welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known News. Devastating fire. We're going to give you a bit of an update this morning. Also, Jimmy Carter was, his funeral happened yesterday, and he is on his way to Plains, Georgia to be.
You're listening to All Sides on 80.
Wife. But did you see the interaction between Trump and Obama? You tell us what you think they were smiling and talking about. There is someone who says that they're a lip reader and they know exactly what was said. We'll talk about that this morning. And looking for love in all the wrong places, perhaps? I don't know. Depends on who you talk to, right? Online dating scams have increased big time. We're going to bring you the latest on that this morning as well. And this story begs the question, how can someone so educated be so dumb? The career of a Florida principal is up in the air after a simple traffic stop resulted in him in handcuffs. I mean, this got to get your thoughts on this. And some good news, perhaps. We think it's some good news. At least Charlamagne thaGod thinks it's some good news. He says that he spoke to Wendy Williams, and wait till you hear what he has to say. But first, the Supreme Court yesterday rejected President-elect Donald Trump's request to block his criminal proceedings in his hush money case in New York, meaning the sentencing will go forward today, this morning at about 10 a.m. Trump will appear via video conference, and he will be sentenced. This cements, folks, that we will now have a convicted felon running the country come January 20th. He is not expected to get, the judge in fact said he's not going to give him jail time, but he will be sentenced, which solidifies his conviction. And he turned to his buddies at the Supreme Court, and they let him down. It was a 5-4 vote with 4 conservatives, of course, voting in his favor, and one went the other way. Of course, the brief unsigned order said that the issues Trump wants to raise can be addressed in the ordinary course on appeal. The burden that sentencing imposes on Trump is relatively insubstantial. The court added, they said because Trump is not going to receive, like we said, any prison time. But the three liberal justices were in the majority with Chief Justice John Roberts and fellow conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett. They are going. MAGA is having a cow right now about this. They're having an absolute cow. Trump's lawyers said in court papers that if the Supreme Court did not intervene, the New York court would inflict, quote, grave injustice and harm on the presidency. Can you imagine? That it's amazing they use words like that. They argued that the case should not go forward because Trump was protected by presidential immunity, in which his Supreme Court granted. And again, we talked about Biden over these last 6 months. He had that same immunity. So the court ruled at the time that while actions taken by presidents in their personal capacity would not be protected, certain official acts taken by presidents are off limits for criminal prosecution. And Trump argued that the hush money payments were in his official capacity, that it was an official duty. Could you just think about that? We know that's a wrong argument, but think about the mindset. Think about that mindset that, hey, that's an official duty. Paying off a adult film star. Pretty amazing, isn't it? um, the court, of course, we know they took an unprecedented step of saying that a president-elect should have the same protection from criminal prosecution that a sitting president has. But Judge Juan Merchan, who presided over the trial, had gone along as much as he could, postpone the sentencing date after the Supreme Court made their decision way back in the summer. But he later determined that Trump does not have immunity until he is sworn in as president, and he directed Trump's sentencing on 34 felony counts. Now, somebody was saying yesterday, I think it was David Youngblood, was saying, well, you know what they should do, and I am in total agreement with this. Today is January 10th. He takes office January 20th. Detain him for 10 days. Detain him. At least it would show some modicum of no one is above the law. That's my thoughts. What's your thoughts? Should they detain him? And you know that he's going to go after this judge some more, as he's already been doing. And you know that when you watch a video or commercial, they say don't try this at home, folks. Never try what Trump has done as far as blasting judges that are overseeing a case that you might be involved in, threatening their families or talking about their families anyway, not necessarily threatening them, but talking about their wives and daughters and sons and things of that nature. Don't try that at home. So Michelle Madison said, yes, detain him. Mike V says Trump was not invited to John McCain's funeral. He tried to stop the electoral process with an insurrection. He pulled the birther issue with Obama, called VP Harris a DE&I candidate. He called Harris the B word too, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. That whole scene at the at Carter's funeral. The vice president didn't so much as look his way. Mike V says Bush didn't speak to him, and that should tell you everything you need to know about this person. Turning our attention briefly back to the wildfires. This is just so devastating. Talked to a couple of friends out there yesterday. I'm glad to say that they report that they are safe, but they are within shouting distance of all of this. Folks, check in on your loved ones, do what you can. But a series of destructive wildfires, as you know, in greater Los Angeles have killed now at least 10 people and forced about 200,000 people from their homes. The true death toll is not known yet, really, but authorities expect it to grow. The dry conditions and powerful winds have fed at least 5 different blazes, and the damage is just awful. These are highly populated areas. The Palisades fire has burned through about 20,000 acres, more than 30 square miles, and has destroyed an estimated 5,000 structures. It's still just 6% contained. 6%. The latest brush fire, the Kenneth fire, emerged in the Woodland Hills area of Los Angeles. I used to live in Woodland Hills. More evacuations there. Evacuation orders were later downgraded, and forward progress of the fire was stopped. And then I saw Jamel Hill and our buddy Anita Bennett tweet out that they received an evacuation alert. But it was sent in error. 10 million LA residents received this evacuation alert. And it did cause some panic and fear. Then you have the Eaton fire in Pasadena, which has burned about 14,000 acres and destroyed at least 4,000 structures, and still 0% contained. The videos coming out of there are just awful. They are horrible. And again, what is Angela Connolly, you're right. The Kenneth fire is suspected arson. But what's again disturbing and expected, you got folks saying that there's not enough white firefighters. Even the actor, racist James Wood, went on this rant. This has nothing to do with whether the firefighters are white or black or whatever, man or woman. Nothing to do with that. This is not the first wildfire in Los Angeles by far, by any stretch. The fact now is that it's destroying rich folks and celebrity folks' homes is a problem. When the Real Grit sent me something about this couple, the Resnicks, nobody's pointing the blame at them. They own and control pretty much all of the water in California. And no one is saying anything about the Resnicks. Why not? Why are they complaining about the Resnicks when they're claiming that, oh, we don't have enough water? And get this, Canada, I think she's going to show that piece, but Canada has sent in airplanes, firefighting airplanes to help put out the fire. The very ally who Trump wants to he's upset and angered, saying that he wants to be first aid. But and this is what allies do. They help when needed. But this Resnick fan, I found that to be didn't realize it. And
suffer through unprecedented drought. One billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. That system was largely paid for by the very taxpayers whose water these billionaires hold hostage. Urban water systems are desperate for water, but in 2023, they'll receive just 5% of what they requested from the state. The Resnicks are the biggest farmers in California. As of 2007, they owned 4 San Francisco's worth of farmland. And nearly half of Americans buy at least one of their products. Their pistachios, their pomegranate juice, their mandarins, their flowers. It's all under one massive umbrella, the Wonderful Company, a privately owned company worth at least $5 billion. The majority owners, the Resnicks, are worth at least $8 billion. How were they able to take over such a large percentage of what should be a shared public resource? This is The Classroom from More Perfect Union, and today we're looking at how the Resnicks got rich. Lynn.
How about that? Ingrid's going to put a link in the chat for you guys to see the entire video there. It's really interesting. Michelle, I'm sorry, not Michelle, Angela Connolly mentions the plane that was struck by a personal drone. Well, this was a super scooper, is what they call a super scooper. It was not a Canadian plane, no, but the aircraft was flying over the Palisades fire. The drone left a football-sized hole in the wing of the plane. It did land safely, which is great. No injuries were reported. And it is a federal crime to fly a drone in the middle of firefighting efforts, and is punishable by up to a year in prison and a $75,000 civil penalty. And someone thought it was a good idea in the midst of this tragedy to do something so stupid. It is insane. And then, of course, and I see Orangey's already ahead of me. He says, you wonder why people like Luigi get fed up. Talking about Mangione, the one who killed allegedly killed the CEO, healthcare CEO. The insurance companies abandoning all of these homeowners. These folks religiously paid their insurance, and then only to be cut off. And now, in the most neediest of times, the insurance companies have abandoned them. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Again, we hearts, thoughts, prayers, actions, everything go out to those in Los Angeles and in Los Angeles, the greater Los Angeles area. So, former President Jimmy Carter's funeral took place in D.C. yesterday, and his body will now return to his hometown of Plains, Georgia. Of course, he's going to be laid to rest next to his wife. But the talk of the day has to be, and it is, doesn't have to be, it is, Barack Obama and Donald Trump. They were doing more than the usual or unusual for these two, giggling and whispering amongst themselves. So how can we find
What's
out
happening, my
what
guy?
they were yucking?
What up, George? Hey, Laura. Hey, Mike. What's up? Al Gore, my guy. What up?
He acted like he didn't see me.
Well,
So he's just going to walk by me and not speak? Such a loser.
my name is Bennett, and I ain't in it. That's between you Republicans. What's happening?
Now, the the Times of India. See, I'll be checking out all types of stuff. The Times of India, not as much as Grish, she comes up with stuff. I don't know. Where she finds stuff. She's got such a archive. The Times of India had a professional lip reader um, note that the presence of cameras and the somber atmosphere seemed to mask what could have been a highly secretive and intense exchange. They had this animated conversation that went beyond just pleasantries, right? Hi, how you doing? That obligatory garbage. But according to forensic lip reader Jeremy Freeman, Trump subtly warned Obama that they would need to find a quiet place later to discuss something of, quote, importance. Now, it's according to the lip reader, it's still unclear what precisely that conversation would entail, but Obama and Trump appear to be discussing international agreements, according to Freeman. At one point, according to the translator, the lip reader, I should say, Trump leaned toward Obama and said, quote, I pulled out of that. It's the conditions. Can you imagine that? And Obama laughed as Trump added, after, quote, I will. Of course, the pool camera feed had cut away at that point. Um, and of course, we saw Laura Bush and Melania Trump. But then it cuts back to them. And Freeman claims that Trump says, call me at the foyer afterwards. And so lip reader says that they were referring to the National Cathedral's foyer. And then Obama, according to the lip reader, said, quote, can you just, it should be good. I can't talk. We have to find a quiet place sometime. This is a matter of importance, and we need to do this outside so that we can deal with it, certainly today. Um, Now, I'm no lip reader, only when necessary. I doubt very much well, let me say this. I can't say I doubt because politicians going to politic. I mean, um, but one of the things that Freeman was speculating, he says during Trump's first term, of course, he notably withdrew from Obama's Iran nuclear deal in the Paris Climate Agreement. Um, and they could have been discussing that. But at a funeral? Yeah, they were talking some real stuff, as Greer said, for sure. And News with Attitude, hey Nakia, says that Trump feels he can talk to anyone, the entitlement, and at a funeral, shaking my head. Yeah, that is certainly the case. But it is, you can't but be the least bit curious as to what was the talk, the continued talk and the laughter about. And RNG says, regardless of what a lip reader says, the optics make Obama look like a weak black man bowing down to a white supremacist. Um, of course, Michelle wasn't there, and there's speculation that she just didn't want to sit next to Donald Trump. Um, I don't know that I don't know that I agree either this time with you, RNG, on that. It's just curious. Obama, now, like him or not, and I'm not the biggest of Obama fans for sure, but he does comport himself very, very uh, gentlemanly, very presidential. I've talked about that before. That I mean, there was no more of a presidential president than Barack Obama, and so it doesn't totally surprise me that he would engage in a conversation with a former and soon to be president. Angela Connolly I like that joke. She says, Obama asked Trump, "How did you sleep last night?" And Trump replied, "It depends." But that's it's going to, unless and until, which I doubt we'll ever know what exactly was said. But until and unless one of the two, primarily Obama, because you're never going to get the true story from Trump. Let's face it, Trump is never going to be honest about. Don't you know you run across people who just it could be raining outside, and you ask them, um, "Is it raining?" It could be pouring, and they'll tell you no. They just lie because it's just a habit that they've never been able to break. And Trump is one of those guys. He opens his mouth, and then something strange or an untruth is coming out of his mouth. RG argues that there's no way that an average black man would sit next to a man who has trashed his name every opportunity he gets, from birther to anything he wants to say in a negative way. Well, and again, while I disagree on your original statement, I will say this. I get that point that Trump essentially ran for president in 2016 because of Barack Obama. And really, to show you just how petty, because of a joke that Obama told. And Greer says Obama is not average. Trump hated being there. He's a narcissist that does not want to be anywhere they are. And that's part of how I was kind of reading it too, before all of these lip readers and everybody and these other interpreters started chiming in. But clearly, Trump didn't want to be there. And a big reason why, look who's there: Vice President Harris, Clinton, George Bush, and of course Obama. And I'm pretty sure Trump probably thought Michelle would be there too. And he doesn't want any part of Michelle. And yeah, I agree with that too, Greer. He hates that they were honoring Carter, even though it was Carter's funeral. I agree with that too. Yeah, he did speak down to the fact that they were speaking highly of another president. How about this? If and obviously that's our take, but how about this? If in fact, and I believe he does, I think Greer is right. Why don't you go out and do something for all Americans that is meaningful and make your mark as president? Leave your mark. How about that? Yeah, the Mike Pence thing. The Mike Pence thing was interesting too. That was interesting too, because Mike Pence's wife didn't even stand up and didn't even look at the guy. She says his wife's mother cussed him out in the car. Mike V says, yeah, leave his mark by resigning. But it's a real interesting look here. He calls her mother. I think Chris on one of them rampage back there behind. He says, watch Obama show up for Trump's funeral. Another yes and boss moment in history. I look. Again, I don't I don't know. Y'all are killing me here. So even Greer, she's pointing out that and it's true that he did kind of hold on to Mike Pence's hand a long time. A long time. That was it must have been a little uncomfortable for Mike Pence, or a lot uncomfortable, because again, Mike Pence's wife. Just think about it. If your wife, any dude, if my wife, guy comes up she don't like, And she doesn't even stand up. She doesn't even look the dude's way. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's definitely gonna be uncomfortable. I have an old friend my wife doesn't like. She doesn't like. She would hate the thought of us hanging out. And Nakia says that Obama exhibited extreme class. Oh no. See, and maybe it's again the pettiness of my nature. There you go. Oh gosh. Um, because I would have been the opposite of Obama right there. There's no way I would be talking to this guy, shaking, smiling with him, and anything like that. Unless, of course, he's doing the old Michael Corleone thing. When remember they was sitting around the three of them, the police captain and the other mob guy, and they're sitting in the restaurant, and Michael wanted to, he's having a nice little chat with them. They are telling him what to do, what they're gonna do, and how things are gonna be. And of course, Michael goes into the bathroom, comes out, and finishes them. Okay. Obama is definitely doing the Corleone, she says. Well, we'll see. We will see. We will see. But that would have been me. That would have definitely been me. We got visitors this morning. Paris Sky is in the house this morning.
I gotta say something. I can't hold
Oh,
back.
shucks. Here we go. And
I
without
can't
a
let my
camera,
face
too.
up. Let me
Without a
just
camera,
say
too.
no. Let me say this, and I'm gonna say this to everyone listening.
Uh-oh.
Y'all are hating on Obama right now, but let's just put this in perspective. Okay. If you were in his position and your family was being threatened, stop fronting. That's all I gotta say. Stop fronting. You would be right there laughing, talking, doing the fake laugh and holding up, and doing the secret talks. Stop playing. Obama's not average. Obama's not average. He was the first Black president of the United States. And whether you like that or not, he played his position yesterday. They put him in that position. You see, Michelle said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. Can't come. You're doing this one on your own. You're carrying this bucket on your own, sir. I'm staying at the house. I'm eating pudding. Okay.
Just strangled them and got it over with. How about that?
Listen, y'all are playing. You're playing. You're not being realistic about this man. Okay. And the power that he holds. He was definitely doing the Corleone thing yesterday. And if your families were, listen, power, if your wife and your son were in danger, you be in there smiling and bucking too. And listen, I know he's gonna get offended because he's a military man. He was like, I served my country for 5 years. Listen, bro. Stop playing.
Wait, you can't go full screen with no camera. Okay, there we go. He says, Mike B says, what happened to Michelle? That's a very, very rare appearance or non-appearance, if you will, by Greer. She told y'all she was back there on the keyboards acting up back there. But Mike B says, what happened to Michelle, Sam? When they go low, we go high. Listen, I'm so done with that statement. Orangey says, Greer, I am a different breed. I mean, listen, Orangey, and by the way, folks, it is Happy Swag Hoodie Day. And Orangey, you did not announce whose hoodie, what team, what school you're wearing today. I need to know. But it is, and it's Friday, so you got to check him out tonight on the Orangey Swag Sports show on YouTube. Greer agrees that you are a different breed, by the way. But anyway. Look at Austin says, when they go low, I stay in Hawaii. Austin, you should have said Africa, because you always over there on the continent, or Dubai or something like that. We can never get a hold of this guy. Southern University is the school of the day for RNG. So check them out tonight on the RNG Swag Sports on YouTube. It's a great show, and it's very, very informative and entertainment. Very good college football all the way through. We appreciate him. So moving on, folks, this morning, more than 64,000 Americans were taken for over $1 billion in so-called romance scams in 2024, which is double the $500 million just 4 years earlier. This is according to the Federal Trade Commission. About half of people who are using dating sites say they've come across somebody who's tried to scam them. According to Representative Brittany Peterson, a Colorado Democrat, who says tech platforms need to do a better job of protecting their users. And Republican Representative David Valadao of California shared the same concerns. The two lawmakers introduced the Online Dating Safety Act, which would require dating apps like Match.com to notify users if they've been in contact with a scam account. After passing the House, the bill didn't get a vote in the Senate, so they'll try again in the next Congress. But here's one example. Check this out. A woman named Sue spoke to CBS News. She's 66 years old, and she has saved more than $2 million for her retirement, and she had hoped to travel the world. But she wasn't done looking for love. She says, it's like, man, I really would do better if I had a male companion, she said. Now, she went against the whole saying, I could do bad all by myself. And so she turned to the dating app, Match.com. She quickly connected with a man who used stolen photos, claiming to be a private equity investor in the United Kingdom, and called himself Santos. After weeks of nonstop romance, Santos said he needed help renewing a professional license and asked Sue for $40,000. She says, I was in a position I could help a person. Why not? I never thought he was stealing or scamming. And there was no reason, Sue said. And so he went on to milk her out of her most of her $2 million. Nakia says that it shows how many lonely folks are out there. I blame, she says, social media. People are locked behind their screens and not going out and actually interacting with real people anymore. Virtual reality love. And RNG says, was that George Santos? But the FCC, not the FCC, but the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, offers some tips on how to avoid losing money to a romance scammer. They say the bottom line is never send money or gifts to a sweetheart you haven't met in person. If you suspect a romance scam, stop communicating with the person immediately. Talk to someone you trust. Do your friends or family say they're concerned about your new love interest? Search online for the type of person or the type of job the person has, plus the word scammer. So if you put there the type of job and the word scammer, it can give you some valuable information. Then you can look and see if other people have posted similar stories. For example, search for, quote, oil rig scammer or U.S. Army scammer. They also say do a reverse image search of the person's profile picture. Is it associated with another name or with details that don't match up? Those are signs of a scam. So how do you report a romance scam if you paid a romance scammer with a gift card, wire transfer, credit or debit card, or crypto currency? It says contact the company or your bank immediately. Tell them you paid a scammer and ask them to refund your money. If you think it's a scam, report it to the FTC at reportfraud report.ftc.gov. That's reportfraud.ftc.gov, and notify the social networking site or app where you met the scammer as well. Greer says she has she knows someone who is 350 pounds posting her fiance on Facebook from India. The man looks 25 and got good hair. She's working overtime to get the money to go to India for the wedding. She says, I don't know how much she sent. It's just awful. And Mike V says the dating apps have all the means to detect scammers and catfishing, and they refuse to do anything. I would never use a dating app. Now, some people have had success on some of these dating sites, and some executives say that they just don't have time to do the traditional dating. But you got to be smart. And you would think somebody who's been able to save $2 million for their retirement and is 66 years old is wise enough, or would be wise enough, not to be taken like that. You know, I've had, and we get these scam messages, or even like if you're on Facebook or something, these scam. And I'm a married man, so I get these. So it's easy for me to play the game. Sometimes I'll lead a scammer to where I know they're gonna go. You know, they'll send, they'll, you know, message you or whatever, and DM you, and oh, hi, I saw your profile. They'll say something like, I saw your news broadcast or whatever. I'm a fan. Or first of all, that right there tells me, and I don't have no fans, so that tells me that okay, this is gonna be a good one. So I'll take them for the ride. They'll start, how, are you where do you live? You live in New York? You live in Los Angeles? I'm like, I'm international. I'll tell them. Oh, I like that. They'll start, and they'll tell you this, tell you that, and after a while they get to, oh, by the way, is it possible if you can send me $100? Or like, yeah, you skank. That's what I say in the message, and then I delete them. I get them to the point where I can call them a skank, and that's it. Heifer. Michelle Matson said, I know someone that met a man on Match. They married and have 2 children. I mean, there are success stories, right? Um, as I said, there are people who simply, I've seen the stories. People just don't have that time for the traditional dating, and so they start or trying to, not necessarily traditional dating, but the traditional way of meeting someone, maybe going to a bar, or to a party, or place of worship. So, um, and so they go online, and folks are, believe it or not, folks are, we all have this um innate desire, whether it's really overt or you suppressed it, to have a partner. I mean, nobody really wants to be alone. Answer Connolly says there are no longer lot lizards, there are cyber lizards. Wow. Cyber lizards, lot lizards. Which sounds worse? Goodness grief. The career of a, let's move on. Angela Conley comes up with some stuff all the time that makes me laugh. The career of a Florida principal is up in the air. This guy, you got to tell me what you think of this. How stupid can you be? Stupid is as stupid does, right? Um, so this Florida principal, simple traffic stop. It all started, I should say, a couple of days ago on the 7th, Tuesday. State trooper pulled over a Kia Stinger after noticing the vehicle had an altered license plate and tinted windows. First of all, I don't know what's the problem in Florida with tinted windows, like Vegas. you need tinted windows. It's hot as you know what. But when the officer approached the driver's side, he asked the driver, whose name is Carlton Odell Johnson, who's 58 years old, by the way, to roll down his window and present his driver's license and registration. But instead of just doing that, which he probably would have just gotten a ticket, Johnson proceeded to tell this story that was unbelievable. He allegedly opened up a black wallet with a gold star inside of it and told the trooper, "I'm an officer. I'm an officer." The state trooper eventually asked the man which agency he served after Johnson continuously told him he was a deputy. He goes, "I am one of you. You hear me? I am one of you. I thought we treat each other better." The cop only asked him, folks, for his license and registration. Then he continued claiming that he was a reserve deputy. And then get this, he took it a step further. He says, "I'm Shaquille O'Neal's cousin." And Shaq actually is a trained sheriff's deputy. But it didn't take long for the state trooper to learn the truth. He asked this guy whether he was a full-time deputy or sworn officer, and Johnson allegedly responded no to both questions. So the officer contacted the Broad Sheriff's Department to confirm Johnson's claims. The state trooper realized the badge Johnson was initially presented stated the word honorary above the star. From there, Johnson was detained and taken into custody. In truth, he had no relation to the sheriff's office or to Shaq. He was, however, the acting principal of the Cypress Run Education Center in Pompano Beach. He previously served as the principal for Blanche Ely High School. He was also named one of South Florida's 50 most powerful and influential leaders of 2024 and 2016. He was also named Principal of the Year by the school district. Now he's facing serious charges for allegedly impersonating a police officer. He appeared in court on Wednesday, where a judge set his bond at $2,500. How stupid! This guy, Principal of the Year, Man of the Year, whatever. But he gets, I'm going to talk about Charlamagne in 2 seconds, but he should get the donkey of the day. If Charlamagne will allow me to nominate the donkey of the day, it's this guy. Andrew Collins says drugs. Nakia says, go offline with this one. Lordy, yes, his career should be in jeopardy. An educated line like this, what values can we trust him to teach our children? Mike V says, oh, he was trolling him. Oh, gosh. Donkey of the day. For sure. Charlamagne, got to make him the donkey of the day. There. Folks, speaking of Charlamagne, he's brought some good news about Wendy Williams. He said as much during a recent episode of The Breakfast Club where he told his fellow co-host DJ Envy and Just Hilarious that he spoke to Wendy over the holiday break and she sounded like her old self. While he didn't or couldn't detail whether or not Wendy was planning on making a comeback to media and television, Charlamagne asserted.
She was seen perfectly.
Here we go.
Wendy sounded like she could do radio tomorrow if she wanted to. There ain't nothing incapacitated about Wendy Williams.
Charlamagne the God recounting a recent convo.
Yeah. There ain't nothing incapacitated about Wendy Williams.
Charlamagne's choice of language.
Yeah. He said she answered the phone like, why are you talking like we just spoke yesterday? She wanted, he said she wanted him to be more excited. So Charlamagne believes that Wendy is plotting a comeback, which would be the comeback of all comebacks, because according to her caretakers, her family, I mean, she has this form of dementia. Hopefully it's true. Hopefully, I mean, listen, I'm not saying Charlamagne would make this up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just hopefully what I'm saying is her she's well enough to do something. Yeah, and that's the other part, right? Um, Chris says it's a shame she got to go to work so they can eat. Yeah. Well, Wendy is has been extremely controversial. But look, nonetheless, one of the most entertaining uh, radio DJs and talk show hosts we've seen, right? Whether you agree with her or not. And Orange says, wait, Charlamagne speaking positive about a black person? Oh, that is right. Wendy is messy, so I believe it. And Nakia says, I'm happy for Wendy. Why won't they release her money to her? These people are stealing from this woman. I pray for her and her family. How are these strangers allowed to do this to her? It's the conservatorship situation. Once you placed under the conservatorship, you're almost like a child. I mean, we saw it publicly play out for years with Britney Spears. So this is unfortunately the remedy that sometimes the courts believe that they have to reach. It's important too. It's another reason why, and this is a topic we've talked about in the past, one that we certainly can afford to talk about again, is a living will is so necessary, um, especially for folks of that position, but for everybody too. Orange G says she should have learned from him and kept her money under the mattress. Mm. But Charlamagne with a good report on Wendy Williams. Glad to hear it, and it's a good way to go into a Friday. It's a party night for me, y'all. So I'm gonna be partying tonight. I'm gonna party like it's 1999. That's what my Aunt Pam says. She gonna party like it's 1999. So there's gonna be some Prince music going on too. I might even do a Prince dance. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Charlie. Charlie Martin says everyone should have one, and I'm talking about a living will. And yes, thanks for the reminder, is what Nakia says. We gotta protect ourselves, folks, and your family, most of all. Yourself and your family. And with that, folks, protect yourselves over the weekend. Have a good one. And we will see you again on Monday. Thanks so much for watching. Let it be known. Like and share the program. And we will see you next week.
Okay, fam. We have to talk about the dynamics at the Jimmy Carter funeral today at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Let's talk about it. So let's start by talking about who was and wasn't there. So basically, all of the living former U.S. presidents, vice presidents, and first ladies were in attendance, down to Dan Quayle, honey, with the exception of Dick Cheney and his wife, who did not attend, and Michelle Obama, who said, when they go low, I don't go to no funeral where I'm going to have to be next to Donald Trump. Bloop. And of course, Barack Obama, former President Obama, who went solo, winds up seated right next to Donald Trump, who could not stop gabbing with him. He literally leaned over, starts chatting with Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I don't know if he was trying to be polite or what, got in on the gab. And this gab fest went on all the way up until the start of the ceremony. And You're not supposed to talk in church. So God only knows what they were chatting about, but it is very clear that Donald Trump really, really, really wants Barack to be his friend. Clearly, Michelle was like, deuces, you can do that alone, Barack. Now let's talk about the Bushes. Okay, so here are the Bushes walking in, George W. Bush and his wife. They come in, for former First Lady, okay? They pass right by Donald Trump. No greeting. They greet the Pences. They greet Al Gore, who's now divorced, so he's there alone. And now watch this, the little tummy tap. Look at that, little tummy tap. Okay, now for sure, the most awkward moment of the day goes to Donald Trump and Mike Pence. He goes in for the handshake, but note, Mrs. Pence does not leave her seat. She's like, yeah, we're not going to stand up for the guy who tried to get my husband lynched. Not doing that. She was like, hell to the no. All right, next moment we're going to talk about are the Clintons. The Clintons did greet the Gores, very warm toward the Gores. Not a lot of interaction, though, with Donald Trump. They didn't even really seem to look at him. They just sort of talked to the Bushes, talked to the Pences, and sat their behinds down and were like, we're not talking to you, Donald. This is not happening on today. So now you've got that whole second row seated, but there's still more drama to come. Let's talk about the Emhoffs. Madam Vice President Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff came in and they were about business. They were like, we greets nobody, we speaks to nobody, no Clintons, no Pences, and definitely no to the Trumps. Literally zip zero, no interaction whatsoever. Didn't even look at the Obama. I didn't even look at former President Obama. Like literally they were like, nope, face forward. We're not talking to you. We're not talking to nobody. Okay. We about business up in here. We don't have to be polite. When they go low, we sit in the front row and don't say nothing to nobody. Literally ice, baby. No interaction whatsoever. While back in the second row, Trump is still in Obama's ear. He will not stop talking to this man. What is happening? Like, does he want him to be his bestie? Like, he really seems obsessed with making Barack Obama like him. But VP Harris was nonplussed, and Doug Emhoff, he keeps it really real. He was like, I'm gonna keep it real, even at this funeral, because we shall not be talking. We shan't. We shan't be communicating with anyone in the second row. Note that Melania literally never stopped staring forward. I think she might have greeted one person, but other than that, no. Here's a close-up of VP Harris looking very chill, but definitely not looking in the second row. Lots of interesting dynamics at this funeral today. Lots of stoic faces and not a lot of interaction between the first and second rows. One wonders about the dynamics inside the Democratic Party. Now moving on to the entrance of the current president of the United States and Joe Biden. Joe and Joe Biden come in